Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Conrad and Jack, and it's the Footy 5. Week 14, it's been great in the Premier League, honestly. A lot of sackings, which you hate to see managers get sacked,
What a
but
week.
it leads to a ton of storylines. It kicked off great and it finished great with VAR controversies, new managers stepping in, questioning how teams are going to look, surprises everywhere. It was a great weekend. I think it's perfectly encapsulates what the Premier League
What's
is.
happened all season long. When
Exactly.
it starts out with Newcastle home to City, a 2-2
I
draw.
didn't see this happening.
No, I had this down as a 3-1 win
Yeah,
for City.
you would think that City would walk this game, but they just haven't been as dominant this season, and it's raises question marks about how good they are this year. I think.
Well, I think it comes down to the defensive challenges that they've got. We talked about Fernandinho and what City are thankful for, right? He's been kind of a one-man band back there by himself without much defensive cover. But this is Guardiola here talking about how difficult it is to go play at St. James's Park. They've got a bit of hoodoo in the last couple of seasons. But this was the amazing piece here. They've dropped 13 points through 14 matches this season, courtesy of ESPN FC. Last year, they dropped 16 points all year long. To your point,
It just raises questions about how much does a squad have left in it, because we talked about it with Pochettino. I think
was
his
writing
squad
that
was
exact
exhausted,
thing down.
and his squad was exhausted, and now maybe the same thing happens with Guardiola. He probably needs new recruits. You've seen pieces by Man City reporters saying that, in this upcoming summer, if he's going to stay, he wants to revitalize the squad, bring in fresh talent, bring in new energetic faces. Because Aguero has been there since that title-winning season, that stunning goal that he had almost 7-8 years ago
Yeah,
now.
that's crazy.
He's been there for ages, and you question how much more does he have left in the tank? Not in terms of ability, but in terms of motivation for Manchester City. Because I don't think that they are as far a drop off from last season as it shows right here. 13 points dropped versus 16 points all of last season. I mean, it just makes it even more difficult to keep up with Liverpool, who are 11 points ahead of you now.
Well, point distribution in the Premier League this year is crazy. How it's so tight from 17th to 5th. It's like 7 points or something like that. I haven't looked at the table recently, but absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
This game looked to be in City's hands with that De Bruyne rocket late on in the 82nd or 83rd
Yeah.
minute. Only to see John Joe Shelby come back and with an equally, not quite as stunning a rocket, but just a great finish.
I mean, I
from
remember
him.
when I was watching the match personally, I was watching it on my phone, like a pleb that I am. And I switched over to Twitter to see what people are saying on Twitter. And then I see the little Premier League alert. John Joe Shelby just scored. And I was stunned. I switched away because I didn't
thought it was
I
over.
didn't expect City to drop points there. I expected them to lock it down and be the title winners that they are. They're back-to-back champions. And they aren't as confident right now. Guardiola needs to step in and remind them, hey, this is the second best squad, not just in England, but I think in the world. I think Liverpool and City are just that good and ahead of everyone else. They got to start proving it more and more, and they got to step it up.
Right now, they're third behind Leicester. We'll talk about them here in a minute. Newcastle, meanwhile, 14th position on 16 points. Brings us to Chelsea and West Ham.
Another surprising
Bit of a surprise again here. Great story. David Martin, 33-year-old keeper for West Ham, son of a club legend, Alvin. Clean sheet in his debut. Just a great scenes after the match.
33-year-old
Just feel
debutant.
really good
Oh,
about
yeah.
him.
It was a great time for him, and for West Ham, this is a big win.
Much needed.
Huge win. Away from home, you pick up a big 3 points. You get more confidence, and I was doubting Pellegrini, in all honesty, and this is a big result because good defensively. You were able to create a good chance and score a good goal. You were a bit fortunate at times in the match of the VAR and Chelsea not being able to capitalize, but at the end of the day, you came away with 3 points at Stamford Bridge. Even in 2019, when they are on a bit of a rebuilding year, that's still a very difficult thing for teams to do, and they managed to do it very well.
13th position for West Ham on 16 points. Leaves Chelsea still fourth place, 6 ahead of a surging Tottenham Hotspur team. But Chelsea, you mentioned it earlier before we came on camera, 3 in a row, not great showings for Chelsea.
Man City, Valencia, and now West Ham in the last 3 matches. They lost against City, they drew against Valencia, and Valencia should have won that match. There were multiple chances that you were stunned that they missed, and it raised a lot of question marks. And then you obviously have this result on the weekend. So this is a time for Lampard. It's a lot like Solskjaer, where you have that initial grace period. They're loving having him at the helm, and then you come into a bit of turbulence. And
How are they going to handle
for
it?
Ole, he hasn't really broken out of that turbulence just yet. I think he still can, but fans are beginning to run out of patience, especially after the result today. But I think that this is a big test for Lampard. Can he break them out of this rut and get them going ahead of a couple tough matches ahead of them?
Next up for Chelsea is a home tie against Villa, while West Ham go on the road against Wolves, one of our favorites. Next up, Liverpool home to Brighton. Somehow Liverpool just keep on grinding out results. 2 headers from the center back Van Dijk, and
Two
then
assists from
two assists from. This is crazy here. Like, nobody from a defensive perspective since the last season has more assists or goals than Trent Alexander-Arnold or Virgil van Dijk. That is tremendous production to go along with the front three that were a little off in this match, but unreal.
So for Liverpool fans, you're obviously upset that you keep on winning 2-1 because that is it's a stressful scoreline. You're not keeping a clean sheet. You're only scoring 2 goals. You're top of the table with only 1 match that you've dropped points in. You want to be more confident. You want to be more dominant. But at the same time, they're getting results. And in this match where Alisson had that red card
That was terrible.
I mean, it was the right decision in terms of taking one for the team. So you're down a man, but still 2 goals up with 10 minutes to go. And then they score that stunning. I don't know what to make. Was it a referee mistake? Was it a goalkeeping mistake? Was it what was wrong there?
It's Martin Atkinson being Martin Atkinson.
But ultimately, they conceded the goal, and that made it a very stressful last 10 minutes for them. But they were able to hunker in and showcase that this is not the Liverpool team of 2013-14 or even maybe last season where they struggle a bit defensively and they're not as confident. I think last year they had better defensive strengths, but they kind of had a little bit of lack of confidence. In this match, they had a swagger. They are European champions for a reason. And overall, they just showcased that this is the kind of game that if you want to be champions, you got to win.
I don't think they care about conceding because they know they're going to get the goal from somewhere. Set is falling apart. This is their now longest unbeaten run, ties the record for the club, 31 straight top-flight matches without a loss.
And it was just overall fantastic for them.
I think 40 points, that means they are clear of relegation and should be good for another season in the Premier League.
And the thing is, what's scary for every other team in the Premier League is what happens if Mohamed Salah starts to catch form, Roberto Firmino begins to become a bit more dominant, if Sadio Mane steps it up yet again. He has 12 goals, 5 assists this season, and he's quietly been very, very good in all competitions for them. They have a huge match against Salzburg coming up. They obviously have that double match, 2 matches in 2 days in 2 continents.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to be in 2 places at once, other than leaving the young team home.
They're going to have the youth squad play Villa in the Cup, and they're going to go play in Qatar for the Club World Championship. And it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the mass amount of fixtures, because if ever there was a time when the title push is going to fall apart, it could be whenever the matches.
No Fabinho in that time.
No Fabinho. That's a big loss.
Keita back, maybe.
I love Keita. I'm a huge Keita fan. He's not backed up my love just yet, but you're hoping that he eventually is going to be able to step up, and this would be a big time for him to do that. And Adrian as well, obviously going to be playing in the Merseyside
and he's
derby.
Comfortable, doing what he did, deputizing for Alisson early on in the season. Brighton dropping to 15th place on 15 points. Obviously, Liverpool 11 points clear at the top of the table with 40.
And that's actually a good point to wrap up, because you mentioned that Adrian stepped in earlier in the season, and say he didn't step in for Alisson earlier on, you might be nervous losing Alisson for the Merseyside derby.
He has more clean sheets than Alisson
He does, yeah, because he had more time out there. And so you say, hey, you know what, Adrian, I believe in you in the net. And that's a big deal to have.
He was mad after that Lewis Dunk cheeky free kick.
Oh, he was. It was clever from that.
Absolutely. Last of the 4 reviews for today, Leicester City home to a very confused Everton side who thought they had snatched a point, but a relatively unused Kelechi Iheanacho coming on in the 62nd minute to give the equalizer assist off to Vardy, and then scoring the winner in 3 minutes of extra time. Somehow in the 96th minute, scores it to steal the point back for Leicester to get them back into second points, 8 points behind.
That was a crazy match. Everton will be mad that they dropped the points. Maybe they're a little of a consolation that they're chasing
Silva's
Liverpool.
look on his face afterwards.
He looked devastated after that, because the guy's under a ton of pressure, and he thinks he's gotten a huge away draw against one of the best teams in the league right now, and then that happens. And ultimately, that was a lapse of concentration in his team, and you should be playing to the whistle. And I know defender will glance over the side and see that there was a flag up for Kalichi Iheanacho's goal. You still got to defend it. Because you know that if he scores it, VAR can possibly overrule it. And when it turns out they got the line to the armpit and the line to the knee, and it turned out that the armpit was behind the knee. And ultimately, it was very, very close. It was a matter of inches that ultimately cost Everton in that match.
I feel bad for Marco Silva. I don't know. Again, this is much like the Unai Emery situation was at Arsenal, right? They don't have the expectations that an Arsenal club do, for sure, right? But they have spent a lot of money, but they just cannot get a result. They cannot catch a break at all. Leicester, again, 32 points, 8 behind Liverpool. Everton now 17th with 14 points, not looking good. They're away to Liverpool in the midweek, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Meanwhile, Leicester looking to pile on more points against a very questionable Watford side at home.
Just sacked their manager. We'll talk about some managerial question marks, which include both Watford and Everton.
Now on to the preview for this week's midweek Merseyside derby, where we don't know if Marco Silva will be in fact still at the helm at Everton. If they lose at that match, I can't imagine seeing him make it to the weekend.
I can't, honestly. You feel bad that he's under this much pressure, but they are not performing well. They're in 17th place. They're 26 points behind Liverpool, and at the same time, we know that these kinds of matches are different. When Liverpool played Manchester United at Old Trafford, they drew 1-1 with them, and that surprised a lot of people. But I don't think it was really a surprising result because ultimately your players shouldn't show up differently for different matches. They should always give their all. But you know that the players from Manchester United and Everton are going to look at the match against Liverpool and care a lot more than a match against Leicester.
It's a lot of pride on the line.
A lot of pride on the line. And Everton are going to want to fight, and they're going to want to try, and especially avenge last year's result, where they thought they got a 0-0 draw, and then Van Dijk slices that volley, hits the top of the bar twice, and then Divock Origi heads it past Jordan Pickford. Liverpool won a more confident result than that this year, but ultimately, Everton will feel very confident, especially with the
Martin
refereeing.
Atkinson sitting behind the VAR wheel. Not a fan of, the Liverpool supporter is not a fan of Martin Atkinson.
Oh, yeah, Liverpool fans do not like Martin Atkinson. He's made several decisions against them. Some questionable, some possibly correct, but just in their face.
Well, in the last match, they allowed the corner that everybody was complaining about on Twitter, where Alexander-Arnold, the ball was clearly not touching the corner circle, and then to allow the Lewis Dunk free kick to go through. So, a give and take in both those.
Maybe it's just a bad referee.
Right? Could be. Don't know. They will be without Alisson Becker for bringing this one back again for seeing red against in their last match. But again, as we said, they'll be confident with Adrian coming in, knowing how well he played in front of the back four.
I just think that Liverpool are playing well. They're creating chances. They're not being too clinical, but they have this one's at home, which is why I think that they still have a great chance to do this. If it was away, I think I'd be a bit more uncomfortable picking Liverpool to win this game. I think a draw would be a more favorable result. But you have Adrian. I think he's a good shot stopper. He's nowhere near at the distribution level of Alisson, which is going to change the way Liverpool play. And it's going to just lead to – it's going to be different, ultimately. They still had a lot of success, and they won, I believe, every match that Adrian played except for the draw in the Super Cup, if I'm not mistaken. And he isn't going to cost them, I don't think, but I don't think they're going to be as defensively rock solid as they usually are.
Just move the ball out to Van Dijk. He is your distributor at that point. That's just got to get it into his foot. Because if Lovren continues to play and make those terrible switch plays, he needs to stop doing that. Too many giveaways.
Yeah, and the thing is, Liverpool against Brighton gave up a lot of chances. And I also think it was a mentality thing. When you have Alisson behind you, you can have a bit more leeway to be more risky and maybe make a mistake and be not as much pressure on you, because you know that you have a great guy behind the sticks behind you. But with Van Dijk and Lovren, they're going to be much, much more cautious, because Adrian isn't a bad goalie, but he's not Alisson, who's, I think, one of the top 3 goalies in the world right now. And that means that you're going to be more cautious, and there's going to be more concentration at the back, which could be a big deal for Liverpool, because they've had a bit of lapse in that in recent weeks. And I think that they'll do well. We both think they're going to come away with the win. We think it's going to be different in terms of closeness.
Yeah, I'm confident that Liverpool will put this away 3-0, because I just don't think Silva is going to have an answer. Yes, they're just as good defensively as they were, in previous years. No, they're not. They're not. I just don't see them being able to do anything in the midfield, in the back line, on the front line to stop this Liverpool. And I think this wakes Liverpool up. To your point about Everton is going to show up for this match, I think Liverpool in front of that home supporting side, we're coming off of the emotional decision that came down to not convict David Duckenfield and the whole Hillsborough tragedy. They're still looking for that closure, and that place is going to be loud and emotional, and I expect Liverpool to take full 3 without conceding.
I see this match going 2-0 for a while, and then in the 75th minute, Richarlison
squeaky
picks one up and slides it home, and then Liverpool fans are holding themselves and their loved ones as they try and get over the finish line. I think it's going to be close, but I think Liverpool will deserve a win. And I think Marco Silva is not going to be close in this match because of tactical nuances. It's going to be because of the passion of his players and the talent of his players. It's going to be very close to Liverpool's, and it's going to keep the match close throughout.
Well, that'll do it for us for Week 14 and a little bit of a preview of Week 15. For Jack, I am Conrad. This has been The Footy 5. Find us on the Twitter @The Footy 5. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate it. Take care now.